Hello my dear students, I hope you all are doing fine. Today we will cover one chapter from your English textbook. It's a poem called Jina and Etiben, rewritten by Nabina Das. This poem is a ballad. First, let us understand what ballads are. Ballads are long narrative stories written in a form of poem. This poem can be compared to Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare because both of these stories has tragic love story elements to it. So what is a tragic love story? Tragic love means a love that does not go smoothly or may end bad. Love that ends badly could be breakup or death.
The poem starts with mentioning the beauty of Mubhangchukad village. The mountains of Mubhangchukad village are compared to shining emerald and sparkling jade because they are fresh and green. In the third line, the poet says that the immortal love story of Jina and Etiben still echoes like gongs in our hills, because the people sing songs that tell the story of Jina and Etiben every day. The poet also used the word amber face to refer to Etiben because Etiben's face was as bright as the color of honey in her cheerful days. Jina is also called man among men, because Jina was a courageous and brave young man. Jina was not a very good-looking man and was very poor. Whereas Etiben was a very beautiful lady from a rich family. We can see the contrast between the two families' status. But luckily they fell in love deeply. Their love was so rich and pure that Etiben didn't care of Jina being from a poor family. Etiben saw Jina as a perfect man. In the fourth line, they are compared to swans because they do not wish to be separated and be with each other as long as they live like the swans. They wanted to spend the rest of their lives with each other. Even today we can visit the water holes where they played. Jina used to play a guitar-like instrument called Kota Kongki, while Etiben cleaned her ornaments of gold in the river. Here, ornaments refer to the wealth and status of Etiben. When Etiben's parents learned about their relationship, they demanded Jina to bring cows and oxen if he really wanted to marry Etiben. It was a trick because they know Jina was poor and couldn't afford to buy anything. Before Jina could arrange the demand made by her parents, another man called Tenur came with the dowry which Etiben's parents demanded. Tenur was the son of a rich man who wanted to marry Etiben. Upon hearing the news, Jina was heartbroken. He felt like nobody could understand his pain. Not even the gods. They tried everything to delay the wedding but failed miserably. Etiben even pretended to be sick and faint on the way of her wedding march but nothing worked. Sadly, since Jina couldn't met the demands of Etiben's parents, she got married to Tenur. Although she was married, her heart was always longing for Jina. She had given her heart away to Jina and she could think of no one but him. She felt that staying with Tenur felt like a cage where there is no happiness. She found her new home like a cage and herself like a beast that has been enraged because of the separation. She would sit by the window and daydream about being with Jina. Jina was also in the same condition as Etiben. He was so heartbroken that he says he could do anything to get her back. He says he could ride the clouds for her. He says he can even ignore his coffee, tobacco, rancid smell of rice, the goat's blare, the news of losses, the price of separation and restless nights just to get Etiben back from Tenur. The miserable life of Jina and Etiben continued. They felt so helpless and hopeless as they continued to long for each other silently. As a married woman, it was wrong of her to still love Jina but she couldn't help but love him unconditionally, since she was forcefully taken away from her lover Jina. She would dream of being with Jina and would get lost in her deep thoughts. Finally they decided to meet secretly. The only way for the two lovers to meet was in the fields in the absence of Tenur. Etiben would go to her field as usual. Jina on the other hand would be waiting for her with a piglet. The usage of piglet was to cover his real intention of meeting his lover secretly. He would carry the piglet as if he would let it graze in the field. Jina had to cover a long distance to meet his beloved Etiben. But unfortunately their secret meetings were soon discovered. Tenur became suspicious of Etiben. So he spied on her by following her to the fields. When he saw Jina secretly slipping away from the field, he discovered their secret affair. Tenur got so angry that he beat Etiben until she lost her consciousness, and left her helpless body among the crops. Jina felt something was wrong, so he came back to the field and found Etiben badly wounded lying on the ground. He picked her up and carried her to her parents' house who were shocked to see what her husband had done to her. They could not believe that Tenur would treat Etiben in such a cruel and harsh manner. Etiben falls gravely sick after she was beaten mercilessly by her husband. Tenyer never came to meet her again. She had to bear all the pain alone without her husband's support, but luckily Jina never let her feel like she was alone or miserable. He stayed by her side throughout her sickness. Jina would put his palm on her forehead. She would get relief momentarily from all her pain and suffering when he touched her. Jina knew Etiben would die soon, so he was in complete sadness. He would stay by her side without letting her family members know about it. He would bring food and fruits for her. The reason why Jina took care of Etiben secretly was because she was still married to Tenyer, and Jina didn't want people to talk bad about Etiben. He gave all the comforts he could, till she died singing a song in which she asked Jina if he would marry her in the netherworld. Here, netherworld means world of the dead. She wanted to know if Jina would marry her in the next life. She said that she would wait for him there. Jina's heart was filled with pain and he cried when Etiben passed away. He sang back to Etiben that he could not wait to be with her and be married to her in the netherworld. They would never be separated and no one could ever do any wrong to them. He also asked her to depart from this world singing his song. After the lovers passed away, the villagers decided to burn their bodies together. As the villagers burn their bodies, they watch in silent awe because they witnessed two smoky figures rising up in the air and holding hands that resembled Jina and Etiben. On seeing the smoky figures, the villagers started singing gloriously for the two lovers, saying that their love story will be on books and covers and will be passed down from generations to generations. Finally, at the end, the poet says that the story of the immortal love of Jina and Etiben is more precious than gems or gold. It surely is indeed a love story for the ages.